Get ready for some chess magic. Like and subscribe to stay connected. Pawn to e4 as the best move.
Preparing to control the kingside, pawn to g6 supports the development of the kingside pieces and prepares to potentially play h5, attacking the bishop on c4.
I played pawn to d4 to challenge black's control of the center and create space for my pieces to develop. This move also pins black's knight on f6, putting pressure on the pawn to d5 square.
Bishop to g7 is the best move.
Knight to f3 is best. This develops a knight.
Playing pawn to d6 at move 3 is a solid choice, supporting the pawn structure and preparing to develop the rest of the pieces. It also slightly weakens the kingside, but is a common move in the jealous system, aiming to control the center and create space for the pieces to develop.
Pawn to c3.
Knight to f6 is the best move.
Bishop to d3 is the best move.
Kingside castle.
Kingside castle is the best move.
Preparing to develop the queenside pawns and support the pawn to d5 pawn push. Pawn to c6 also slightly weakens the pawn to d5 square, but it's a minor price to pay for the increased flexibility and pawn structure options.
Pawn to a4 is the best move.
Pawn to c5 is the best move.
Rook to e1 is excellent. By placing the rook on an open file, it controls important columns. Pawn to a4 is best.
Pawn to e5.
Pawn to h3 is excellent. Knight to c4 is best.
Knight from file b to d7.
Pawn to a4.
Rook to b8 is good. This develops a rook. By placing the rook on an open file, it controls important columns. Pawn to a5 is best.
Knight to f1.
Rook to e8.
Knight to g3 is the best move.
Pawn to b5 is good. This offers a trade. Pawn to f5 is best.
Pawn captures on b5 is excellent. This is a trade. Pawn to b4 is best.
Pawn captures on b5 is the best move.
Bishop to d2 is the best move.
Pawn to a6 is the best move.
Queen to d2 is a solid move, supporting the central pawn and preparing to develop the rest of the pieces. It also puts pressure on black's position, particularly on the pawn to d5 pawn.
Bishop to b7 is good. This develops a bishop. This fianchettos the bishop by putting it on a powerful diagonal. Knight to b6 is best.
Pawn to d5 is the best move.
I played pawn to d5 to challenge black's central control and prepare for potential pawn breaks on the queen's side. This move also pins black's knight on d7, making it harder for them to develop their pieces.
Pawn captures on e5.
Knight captures on e4 is the best move.
Bishop captures on e4.
Pawn captures on e4 is best. This attacks the knight.
Preparing to develop the queenside pawns and control the pawn to d5 square, pawn to e6 also slightly weakens the kingside pawn structure, but it's a common move in the jealous system, aiming to equalize the game.
Rook captures on e6.
Bishop to f4.
I played knight to e5 to attack black's pawn on f4, creating a potential pin on black's knight on s6. This move also opens up the f-file for my rook to potentially use later.
Knight to d4 is good. This attacks the rook. Knight captures on e4 is best.
Rook from file e to e8 is excellent. Rook to e7 is best. This defends a queen on c7.
Attacking the knight on s6, creating a strong initiative and putting pressure on black's position. The pin on the knight also threatens to open lines for the rooks, making it difficult for black to defend.
Rook from file b to d8.
Rook from file c to d1 is a prophylactic move to prevent black's potential counterplay on the queen side, specifically the f5 push, which could have led to a weakness on d5. By moving the rook to don, I'm also preparing to potentially play d3, supporting the central pawn and preparing to develop the rest of the pieces.
Queen to b6.
Queen to c2 is excellent. Queen to c1 is best.
Pawn to h6.
Knight to d2.
Knight to c6.
I played rz8 plus to put pressure on black's position and create a potential pin on their knight, forcing them to respond to the threat. This move also opens up the file for my rook to potentially use later in the game.
Rook captures on e8 is best. By placing the rook on an open file, it controls important columns.
Knight from rank 2 to f3 is a solid move, developing the knight and preparing to control the center. It also pins the black knight on d4, potentially limiting their pawn structure options.
Knight captures on d4.
I played knight captures on d4 to challenge black's pawn structure and create a potential weakness in the d file, while also putting pressure on the pawn to d5 pawn. This move is a key part of the Jello system, aiming to equalize the game and create counterplay.
Rook to d8 is excellent. By placing the rook on an open file, it controls important columns. Pawn to a5 is best.
Queen to d2 is the best move.
Queen to c7.
Queen to d2 is excellent. Knight to e2 is best.
King to h7.
Pawn to f3.
I played queen to c4 to attack black's position and prepare for a potential pawn storm on the queen's side. The move also pins black's knight on c6, making it difficult for them to defend against the impending attack.
Rook to c1.
Pawn to a5 is best.
King to f2 is excellent. Rook to a1 is best. This attacks the pawn. By placing the rook on an open file, it controls important columns. This move gains the tempo. The game is over. Black wins.